Let me correct that. Microsoft says that you need 20 gigabytes for an upgrade on the 64-bit edition here, and that's actually very inaccurate. The reason is, if you have a 300 gigabyte hard drive, just as an example, you're going to need roughly 15% of that hard drive to be free just to run Windows properly. So on a 300 gigabyte hard drive, that's roughly 45 gigabytes that you're going to need just to run Windows properly, and that means being able to run ScanDisk and defrag on the computer. Add your 20 gigabytes to that, and you're looking at 65 gigabytes. Then, on top of that, you're going to need room to grow. You'll need room for your applications, for your photos, for your movies. So you probably need another 20-25 gigabytes on top of that. I cannot see how you would want to upgrade with less than 80 to 100 gigabytes of free space on your computer. Forget about the 20 gigabytes. It's really not going to be effective. So stick with the 80 to 100 gigabytes of free space. That's really what you're going to probably need. It's more realistic. Now you can see that we have a lot of free space on this computer, and it's because of what we do with this computer. We use this computer to run virtual PC, and we also use it to run Visual Studio. Both of those applications require a lot of memory and a lot of hard drive space, and that's the reason for all these multiple hard drives here. Some of them are for the virtual PCs to use, and others are for programs that we write. Now, since we have to run a custom install anyway on this computer, we've decided to create a dual boot system where we're going to be able to boot into Windows XP 64-bit edition, or we're going to be able to boot into Windows 7. And that's really the best way that we can keep the functionality of this computer. So we'll close this, and we'll go back to our Upgrade Advisor, and we'll notice the problems here. First thing is custom installation is required, and part of that is because this is Windows XP. There's not an in-place upgrade path for this computer to be able to upgrade to Windows 7, so we have to do a custom installation anyway. Also, the problem with Outlook Express, Windows 7 doesn't really have a mail client. I mean, it'll switch over to Hotmail and Nothing Flat or Live, but it doesn't really have a true mail client. Now, you can do a lot more with the mail client, like save the emails on your hard drive. You can edit photos a lot easier. You can do a lot more with the actual Windows client. So, if you have Office 2007, this is not going to be a problem. But if you don't have Office 2007, this is going to be a problem. In addition, it also noticed a few problems here. It really wants us to upgrade to Windows XP mode. Now, Windows XP mode is like another gigabyte download, and it's going to require twice the memory. And they want us to do this in order to run a virtual PC and the Windows 7 64-bit edition. Well, we're going to skip all that because there's no reason for us to do all that when we're already doing it already without all that, without all those changes. So that's another reason why we're going to be upgrading this computer from XP 64-bit to Windows 7 32-bit. We run the same applications with less memory on Windows 7 32-bit, and the upgrade cost will not be as great. By the way, XP mode is a nice feature. It's just that the system requirements almost double when you go to the 64-bit edition of Windows 7, and that's another reason why we're going to stick with the 32-bit edition. In finishing up with the Windows 7 Upgrade Advisor, a couple of things that I do like about this. If you click on the system upgrades, you take a look here. Well, first of all, it warns us about the Outlook Express problem, or the problem with Windows Mail and Vista. That we're going to have to start planning what we're going to do with that later. The other thing I like here is the Windows Arrow support. it shows us right away that this graphics card on this computer will support the Aero interface. Now that's especially important if you have a 3 or 4 year old computer and you haven't got a clue as to what kind of graphics card you have in the computer. It's not going to say how well it's going to run the Aero interface, but it will tell you at least that it will run the Aero interface. And we're going to find out more about the graphics card later. But this is a quick check, and it tells us right away that this graphics card is fine, and we can use this. Again, it doesn't tell us how well it's going to work, but at least that it will work, which is 90% of what we're worried about. Another item here we go again. This is a 20 gigabytes of free space that I don't like. Remember, you're going to probably need about 80 to 100 gigabytes of free space in order to really be happy with the computer after you upgrade it. Then the other thing I like about this is when we look at your devices here, it checks the compatibility of all the drivers on your computer. And if a driver is not compatible, it's going to refer you down to the Windows 7 Compatibility Center. Now, don't underestimate this site. This is going to have a link to the hardware that was being referred to in the Upgrade Advisor. It's going to bring you to a link right on this website. And at that link, you're going to be able to click on the little icons and go directly into the manufacturer website, which will probably have a driver for you. Now, the thing I like about this is it gets everybody in the habit of upgrading all their drivers before they do the upgrade on the computer. That's important. I mean, why upgrade a driver after you've upgraded the computer? I mean, it's kind of like doing everything backwards. So this is the right way to do it. And even those websites over commercialized, it does have links right back to the manufacturers, and those manufacturers will have links, should have links to the drivers that you're going to need. After you're done with the Windows 7 Upgrade Advisor and you're done with the Windows 7 Compatibility Center, then we get to go into the Windows Easy Transfer. This is a new application. The old one used to be the Windows, I think they called it the Windows Settings and File Transfer Wizard, where you ran up to your computer with a cable and you connected the cable to the old computer and then you connected the cable to the new computer. And if you didn't have to worry about having two screens right next to each other, or you had a cable long enough, then it was successful. Well, the nice thing about this is it backs everything up for you, including the email. Now remember, Windows 7 is not going to know what to do with that email if you don't have Outlook 2007, but at least it backs it up for you. And it gives you a choice. It'll let you use the old cable method. It'll let you back it up to a network. Now if you have Windows Home Network, that's a big plus because you can back it up to Windows Home Network. Or they let you back it up to an external hard disk or a USB flash drive. Now, since the external hard drives are very popular right now, they're also fairly inexpensive. And it's, you know, it might be a good idea just to have one to back up stuff to anyway. So this is actually the method that I prefer, just to back everything up to an external hard drive. It makes everything a lot simpler, and you've got a backup that you can keep. So the Windows Easy Transfer is another nice application that's put out by Microsoft to help us upgrade our computers. Again, the Windows 7 Upgrade Advisor, the Windows 7 Compatibility Center, and the Windows 7 Easy Transfer application. You install this on both computers. That'll give you a really good start on upgrading your computer before we get into the other tools we want to check out, which will give us a lot more details here in just a minute.